of mark or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Restore Health and Counseling salutes the men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedoms. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they have fought hard to restore peace. America's troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. That's from Restore Health and Counseling at 4705 Paris Street, serving Northeast Denver with complete substance abuse counseling for adolescent to adult and for private as well as professional drug, alcohol screening and treatment and rehabilitation. Visit us at www.rhctherapy.com or call 303-373-1188.
Whether you're in automotive, sporting goods, hardware, health, wellness, electrical, electronics, construction, carpet cleaning, legal, or animal care, and offer exceptional customer service and provide quality services or goods, you're honest, reliable, and professional. If you have a business, we have the customers. Let us put you in touch with our loyal, supportive, and dedicated listeners today. They're waiting to hear from you. It's inexpensive. It's effective. Call KHNC at 1-800-205-6245.
The ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Thank you. To proceed with the order of business.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
My friends, that was some of the mayhem that took place yesterday at the Republican National Convention in Tampa. The sounds you heard were people who were taking part in the process and found that there was no process. It had been contravened. It had been commandeered. It had basically been taken over and destroyed. Centuries from now, when historians and archaeologists look back and try and put their finger on exactly when America unraveled and crossed the point of no return, they may be listening to the exact same video that you just did. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Riell TV and in the book Riell Truth, Stay Angry. And, of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number, 877-254-7524. Item from freedomworks.org. Yesterday, the Republican National Committee in Tampa adopted some rule changes that shift power from the state parties and the grassroots to the RNC and the presidential nominee. Former Governor John Sununu of New Hampshire touted the new rules as providing a strong governing framework for the party over the next 4 years. But in fact, the new rules should be very troubling and disappointing to conservative grassroots activists because they move the National Republican Party away from being a decentralized, bottom-up party toward becoming a centralized top-down party. The Romney rules effectively disenfranchise grassroots delegates and will thus tend to weaken and splinter the party over time. They specifically represent a blow to the Tea Party and the Ron Paul movement and force grassroots conservatives of all stripes to contemplate their future within the GOP. Related item from the unconventional conservative. I am so frustrated and angry with the blatant cheating that went on at the Republican National Convention in Tampa today. I'm ashamed of my national party's actions. I sat open-mouthed, flabbergasted, appalled at the actions that they took to shut the Liberty folks out. Look, maybe Ron Paul had no chance to win. Romney had more delegates, though some of those were seated by deception and coercion. That's not the point now. Do we as Republicans have so little respect for others that it's okay to cheat a 30-year Republican congressman out of a legitimate nomination that he earned by following the rules, no less? Is it okay that we completely ignore the will of the elected delegates who've achieved plurality and submitted nomination papers? Those papers were delivered to Priebus by Iowa's Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds, the convention secretary, over an hour before the call for nomination, the rolling roll call. She claims it was her job to accept and deliver them, and that anything after that was the will of the Republican National Committee. Therefore, the will of the RNC was to cheat Ron Paul out of a legitimate nomination and to break their own rules. Ron Paul needed a plurality of 5 states to have his name submitted for nomination. He received 6. Those papers were submitted in a timely manner and ignored. The delegates from those 6 states followed the rules that required the plurality, only to be shot down by their own party out of spite. Related item from Michelle Malkin. There were several inspiring speeches delivered at last night's Republican National Convention. Talk of unity filled the air. Many GOP leaders praised the grassroots. But behind the scenes, the RNC power grab has exacerbated distrust between a diverse group of rank-and-file activists and party bosses. I have no patience for the Republican party bots telling those frontline soldiers to shut up in the name of unity and to hide infighting because the left will publicize it. It should be publicized. Conservative activists and Tea Party members have worked their asses off within the system, doing the groundwork of righting the wayward GOP ship from the inside. These are the door knockers, sign makers, phone bankers, message spreaders who fueled the Tea Party revolution and who enabled the 2010 GOP midterm victories. They fought for and earned their place at the table. I have no patience for the sideline sitters who gripe the rules fights are boring and meaningless. The Tea Party conservative activists are doing what an effective movement is supposed to be. They've moved from protests and rallies to the nuts and bolts of party politics. These battles matter because exercising grassroots muscles makes them stronger. Finally, I have no patience for the addled critics who think we're unable to multitask. Yes, you can criticize bad GOP maneuvers and maintain the fight against Obama and the progressives at the same time. It's easy if you try, unquote. My friends, I am ashamed at the political process in this country. From votes that are getting discounted and disqualified, to votes that are changing candidate, to people who are being shut out completely, to a national political convention where the rules are ignored, other rules are changed at the last minute so as to disenfranchise people. It is the stuff of banana republics in the third world. America is too good for this, at least we used to be. We are descending. We are descending. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy of historic proportion, and it's happening right before our eyes. By the way, this is Riell Truth. We'll be right back.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
CINN Stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine. Point and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN Stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices.
The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal, mid-Rosh, and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
Welcome back to Riell Truth. My friends, if you have a taste for tragedy, I'm going to give you some more. Here's 2 minutes and 11 seconds of a report from the convention floor. This appears on Reason TV, and of course, with just about everything you hear on the show, you can find a link to it on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio. You got your handkerchiefs ready because you're going to have to dry some tears. Here it comes.
It's an embarrassment to the process. It's an embarrassment to the state of Maine and to the party as a whole, how things were conducted today. Hi, I'm Tracy Oppenheimer for Reason TV. I'm here on the convention floor where the Maine delegates just made their last stand to try to get their Ron Paul supporting delegates seated. They were unsuccessful, and they walked out. Tell me really quickly what happened in there.
Well, we just got railroaded. Unfortunately, they do not want to recognize our delegation chair.
There was a properly put together amendment to the credentials report that would have put the people that were elected by the people of Maine into their seats. The chair did not recognize the amendment.
I mean, it's horrendous what happened to Maine. The real duly elected delegates are up here, right there.
We had tons of people screaming objection, point of order, division. All of these things have to be acknowledged under the process.
They didn't hold a roll call vote, and it's tyranny.
You know, I think that rules have to be followed.
This is the time to rally around the next president.
I think it was absolutely an embarrassment to the integrity of the process.
I've been stating all along that the National Convention is not meant to be a coronation. It's meant to be where delegates actually go, use the rules of procedure and the process to select somebody.
Iowa cast 22 votes for Ron Paul. If you didn't follow the rules, you don't get seated. It's that simple.
This is going to happen to other states. We think this is just the beginning. The Central Party of the RNC is going to start silencing the voices of the states. Go state by state by state. So it's absolutely just the beginning. Do you think this will have a significant impact for support of the Republican Party by libertarian-leaning or Ron Paul supporters?
This is a return to smoke-filled rooms. The party's fractured. This was completely unnecessary, and it's ridiculous.
My friends, the other night I was watching an old, several years old movie called Gangs of New York. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? I'll tell you. There's one scene where there's a cop who's corrupt and he's brutal, and the sun comes up and people walk out in the street, and what do they see? They see this cop dead and hanging from a lamppost. Now, I've chronicled for you very meticulously on this show the way society appears to be. I was hoping, fool that I am, that the Republican National Convention could help bring the nation back together, restore some order, some sanity. Instead, it's pulling the nation even further apart. Now, my friends, I've said to you before, I never in my whole life want to see politicians hanging from lampposts. I never want to see that. And I would never, ever tell anyone to do it. But if, God forbid, it happens, if, God forbid, things go that far, you needn't wonder why. The people of this convention are people who played within the system, played by the rules, people who did what they were supposed to do, and they had the door not only slammed in their faces, but slammed on their heads. It was a breakdown of our elective process. It was a breakdown of our democracy. It was a breakdown of this Constitution. It was a disgrace. It was, as the guy in this video said, it was tyranny. It's not for no reason. That when I went on Facebook today, I found the picture I'm looking at right now. It's on my computer screen. It's a picture of a dead elephant laying on a highway, of all things. And above it, it says, reporting live from Tampa. And then the caption beneath it says, the GOP has been found dead of an apparent suicide. Item from opednews.com. It's clear our military is no longer the nation's only standing army when it comes to killing power. Over the past 2 weeks, everyone from the mainstream media to bloggers and conspiracy theorists have questioned the government's mass purchasing of ammunition for federal agencies like the National Weather Service and even the Social Security Administration. Combined, both agencies ordered over 210,000 rounds. This ammunition is mostly made up of hollow point bullets, which are designed strictly for maximum damage to the human body and have been outlawed for use in warfare since 1969. On the surface, these purchases alone are scary enough and raise questions as to why these unlikely agencies need any amounts of ammo, especially bullets that have been outlawed. The National Weather Service claims they have 63 officers who, quote, enforce the nation's ocean and fishing laws to ensure a level playing field for fishermen and to protect marine species like whales, dolphins, and turtles, unquote. If you divide 46,000 rounds by the 63 agents they employ, that's 730 bullets per agent, or in other words, 63 crack shots and a lot of dead fishermen. The Social Security Administration has given no specific response to questions regarding their purchase of 174,000 rounds. They said their, quote, agents need them. But keep this in mind. The SSA only deals with U.S. citizens in America. The SSA has never been involved with anything outside this country for any reason. And why do they need armed agents? All SSA offices employ private contracted security for their offices. Digging deeper into the government's recent procurements for ammo, you learn just how aggressively they're buying up ridiculous amounts of ammo and riot-related equipment. The feds have actually ordered over 1 billion rounds of ammo in 2012 alone. They received $750 million in March and are awaiting another $450 million arriving soon, all in conjunction with large-scale orders for riot gear, bulletproof checkpoint outposts with red and green stoplights, human-shaped paper practice targets, and other crowd control and containment equipment. There's no conspiracy theory here. The federal government is expecting either a catastrophic financial collapse that could provoke nationwide food riots and all-out civil unrest, another civil war, or even Armageddon, all in the very near future. Some theorize that the mass purchase of ammunition is an attempt to hoard as much as possible from the American public, whom the feds believe may be in preparation for civil war right now. Activist, radio talk show, and journalist Madison Rupert recently detailed on his End the Lie radio show how our Department of Homeland Security has an apparent obsession with buying up all the ammunition on Earth. He noted that even if this ammo were purchased strictly for training purposes, as the feds claim, we simply do not have the money in the federal budget to buy hundreds of millions of rounds of high-dollar ammunition for domestic agents' target practice. Another recent story by Rupert entitled, "We Are Preparing for Massive Civil War," says DHS informant, outlines investigator Doug Hagman's interview with reportedly high-level reliable sources inside Homeland Security. who claim the agency is preparing for a massive civil war in America. The DHS source states that the federal government foresees and prepares for a massive civil revolt. Every time you hear about troop movements, military equipment, the militarization of the police, and the buying of the ammunition in the U.S., all of this is orchestrated by the DHS, who are reportedly preparing for a massive uprising, unquote. Hagman goes on to say that his sources tell him the concerns of the DHS stem from their belief in an impending collapse of the U.S. dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and their fear that a significant portion of the population is already armed and will rise up over the crash of our monetary system. Hagman's sources confirm the ongoing fear of a U.S. dollar collapse at the hands of the Chinese and possibly the Russians in retaliation for aggressive U.S. foreign policy initiatives against Chinese and Russian strategic allies like Iran and Syria. The one source that we have I've known since 1979, says Hagman. He started out as a patrol officer and currently is now working for a federal agency under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. He is in a position to know what policies are being initiated and what policies are being planned at this point. And he's telling us right now that what you're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. We are preparing, we, meaning the government, we are preparing for a massive civil war in this country, unquote. Then there's Trends Research Institute's founder, Gerald Salente's forecast of last year, where he believes and expects a collapse of the U.S. dollar and riots in America sometime this year. Since Salente's Civil War prediction of last year, President Obama signed executive orders known as the National Defense Resources Preparedness, which are politically damaging actions taken by a sitting president. Of course, he also signed the National Defense Authorization Act, abolishing habeas corpus and the Bill of Rights, and permitting indefinite detention without trial or charge of American citizens at home and abroad. He further claims the power to murder American citizens without indictment, trial, or conviction upon his finding that they support or substantially assist an enemy of the United States or one of its allies. Let the firing squads begin. And most recently, additional requests made by the DHS for another procurement of 750 million rounds of hollow point ammunition only fuel speculation of an upcoming tragic event expected on American soil. These major events, as shocking to the American people as they are, will be taking place during an election year. Unquote. Related item. Border Patrol agents smuggling weed and coke. Immigration agents forging documents and robbing drug dealers. TSA employees caught with child porn. These are just a few of the crimes perpetrated by the Department of Homeland Security employees in just the past year. Since the creation of the Department of Homeland Security nearly a decade ago, the agency's Inspector General has been tasked with uncovering corruption, waste, and criminality within his own ranks. The IG has had his hands full. According to a newly released DHS Inspector General summary of its significant investigations, 318 DHS employees and contractors were arrested in 2011. That's about one arrest per weekday of the men and women who are supposed to be keeping the country safe. The report lets us not only see how corrupt some agents tasked with protecting the homeland can be, it also gives us a scale of the problem. In short, there are a lot of dirty immigration and border officers, unquote. My friends, what can I tell you that's not contained in the items I just presented to you? You folks out there with the tinfoil hats, take them off. You are no longer weirdos. You are now mainstream. Mazel tov. There is no reason for our government agencies to be stockpiling hundreds of millions of rounds of ammunition right here within the United States unless they're planning on using them right here within the United States. My friends, it's gotten to the point where, I kid you not, I've come to knocking on my door during this show. I can't imagine the powers that be much care for the show. I'm surprised I haven't been whisked off to a psychiatric facility yet, like Brandon Raub, whom I've been speaking of over the last several days. He's the 26-year-old Virginia resident who was arrested by a swarm of FBI Secret Service agents and local police back on August 16th and forcibly detained in a psychiatric ward for a week. Why? For posting controversial song lyrics and political views on his private Facebook page. Now, if you go to the Riell Truth radio show Facebook page, I make Brandon Raub look like an amateur. And so every day I do this show and I don't hear, I count myself as lucky. My friends, the day may well come when I or you may indeed hear. And you know from past shows and past news items that if you refuse to let the authorities, the police, law enforcement, if you refuse to let them into your home, they can kick down the door and come in, and you may not do a thing to stop them. Because if you do, then you have committed a criminal offense. That's where we are in America today. It's enough to turn your stomach. And it's reality. Get used to it. We'll be back.
Looking for the perfect answer to your nutrition and health needs? Look no further. BioSuperfood, developed to heal the peoples, animals, and land after the Chernobyl disaster, has the most complete, powerful nutritional analysis for health and wellness. Easy to digest, BioSuperfood contains complete proteins, amino acids, and vitamins A, B complex, B12, C, E, D, and K. It contains minerals and trace elements like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, iodine, manganese, zinc, selenium, silicon, and it provides essential fatty acids, omega-3, 6, and 9. It's high in gamma-linoleic acid and has thousands of active enzymes and phytonutrients like chlorophyll, spirulina, and carotenes. Beta-carotene, alpha-carotene, astaxanthin, lutein, lycopene, quercetin, and much more. Save your money, save your time. Compare, and you'll find that there is no more researched or superior product available on the market today. Call now and get your discount prices on your next BioSuperfood at 303-2